to your most comprehensive election analysis program, Election Focus, right here on Pan-African Television. With me, Justice Appear. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp text line. I'll be reading those messages out for you, those of you watching us on Facebook, and share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch the program this afternoon. As you know, we started today. We are looking at some swing constituencies in the Western region. I think on Tuesday we did the strongholds of the various political parties. Now we are focusing on the very constituencies in the Western region that could go either ways, either for the NDC or the MPP or any other party. And we have about 4 of them. We have Jomoro, Evaluate Jomoro. We have some, 2 other ones I'll be bringing to you pretty shortly. But I've been joined in the studio by my colleagues, Greg Amwa. Greg will be, bringing the voter demographics to us. I also have in the studio with me, Bless Koku Alomaso, morning show host, Good Morning Africa, right here on Pan-African Television. Bless, how is it?
Fine, thank you. Justice, we meet again.
Right, yes.
I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation here.
Very well.
This evening on Election Focus.
Also in the studio with me is Ruben Ado. Ruben Ado is an editor. Ruben, how is it?
I'm fine.
Let me go straight to Greg. Greg, we are starting with Jomoro. But before then, how many swing constituencies do we have in the Western region?
I think we have about some 4 to 5, depending on how you want to define swing in that region. There are a few of them, especially those in the Amenfi area, as we said the last time,
yes.
Except for Amenfi East. That's swings between the MP and the NDC. Amenfi West Central, Wassa East, some parts of that enclave are green seats. Therefore, the NDC, they don't normally swing.
Okay.
In fact, some don't swing at all. Then some areas like Kwesimintim, Efia, Takoradi, Sekendi, Esikado Ketan, and Poho, these are also religious blue seats that do not swing. They never swing. And so, aside from these, there's only Elembele, Jomoro, Pristia Huni Valley, and then I think Amenfi East. Those are the ones that tend to swing from time to time. Shama has also swung a few times, but it's not as detailed as the other ones I mentioned, Elembele, Jomoro, and the other seat swing. So at least about 4 seats in that region can be termed as swing seats.
What makes a particular constituency a swing constituency?
So it happens where they alternate between parties. So for example, if you take Elembele, it has not just swung between the NPP and the NDC, but in fact they have even gone to the CPP in some other elections. So this is how we're able to gauge. Of course, there are sometimes a seat we swing just once in the last 8 elections.
Okay.
That cannot be termed as a swing seat. It is another party seat, although maybe due to a few issues within the party, they might have opted for the other party, but eventually came back to the party with which they have sided with for a very long time. Some seats do not stay with one party, so you might even go for 2 terms. But when your performance as MP does not meet the collective aspirations of the people on whose behalf you are wielding power, they tend to switch to the other party. And in the case of a place like Elembele, they have swung not just with the NPP, but they have swung with the NDC and even the CPP, as we've seen with Blay. So these are the demographics that we use to measure whether or not a seat is a swing seat or not.
I'll come to you, but let me come to Bless. Bless, what do you think? I'm sure you have followed elections in this country. What do you think informs the decision, by some particular persons not to give their mandate to a particular political party for a very long time?
Yes. Good afternoon to our cherished viewers,
Right.
and we appreciate their time this day on Election Focus. It's another edition. That's a very interesting question, and I'm very excited about the conversation we're having today when it comes to swing seats. As to what informs the decision of voters to vote for a particular political party, I think they are the same issues everywhere, except that the kind of voters you have in a particular geographic location would also determine who they would vote for. Now, if you look at the region we are looking at currently, and you look at some of the constituencies and the history of the parties that have occupied the parliamentary seats in recent years or since 1992, it makes for interesting reading. Greg made a point that if for instance, say you are MPP, and you're a member of parliament, you've occupied the seat for 2 terms, and the people realize that your work rate is not impressive, or they are not getting the desired results from you as member of parliament, then it means that they change. First of all, let me heap special praise on people who live in such constituencies. In fact, they tell the other constituencies that you should be voting for people or otherwise based on their performance, and not only because of some tribal or religious, affiliations that you have with a person.
Right.
So I'm very much impressed with every constituency that is a swing constituency. Then it means that the people really look at the issues, they look at their everyday issues, and then vote based on those lines. So I'm very, very impressed. I think we'll get into the details of the respective constituencies later, but we know the everyday issues that plague us. Issues in relation to healthcare, education, the economy as a whole. The ability of the constituents to work and also have a source of livelihood. All of these are factors. They look at other things such as development. Are their roads being fixed?
Right.
So if the member of parliament who promises them that they are going to champion all these developmental causes is unable to realize these aspirations, then it means that we would have to switch to another political party or another candidate for that matter. So I would say that it is based on these very things. It is ubiquitous. If you go everywhere, they are the same issues. When you go to the northern region, when you go to the Upper East region, you go to the Volta region, you come to the Greater Accra region, people would primarily vote first on those lines. But it is only sad that some people would put other considerations ahead of some others. So for instance, when you go to some places, people would put their tribal allegiance high above the development that they are supposed to get, as a constituency. So I'll say that these are some of the issues.
Right. Okay, so let me come to you, Ruben. We've always been hearing this, that there are some places who would vote for a certain party no matter what. There are constituencies like that, a lot of them. There's nothing you do for them to vote for any other political party apart from the party they've been voting for since time immemorial. But there are some constituencies too that the dynamics change. Because you realize that if you come and for whatever reason they feel that you are not good enough, they kick you out and bring another person. Bless has given us his side of what he thinks, has been informing such decisions. What about you?
Honestly speaking, I think besides the everyday issues you rightly pointed out, there could also be other factors which would influence their choice to endorse someone else's candidature. If you look at most of the communities within the Western region, they are mining communities.
Okay.
And unfortunately for some of these communities, the people who are actively involved in mining don't get the needed support or assistance. Because you have a chunk of the youth who ideally would want to be better off or to eke out a living for themselves being actively involved in mining. So now they end up being forced to do something against their will, and they feel that once we have an elected member of parliament who is supposed to lobby for us to have a fair share of development, we should also be ultimate beneficiaries of whichever developmental agenda he's championing. But that is not the case. So mostly they are tempted to vote based on the fact that maybe we have an elected member of parliament who is going to champion our cause. Because if we are actively involved in mining, this is our main source of livelihood. And besides that, we are not going to do anything worthwhile. Then you also look at the issue of healthcare delivery. Maybe access to improved quality healthcare is a major challenge in some of these selected constituencies. So when you have a member of parliament who is lobbying that within the next 4 years, if given the mandate, I'm going to improve your lot so far as healthcare delivery is concerned, and fails to live up to expectation, you will be kicked out for another person to come on board. The issue of sanitation, the issue of education from early childhood through to basic, then secondary, before tertiary level. All these things will need to be looked at. But if you have instances where people would prioritize competence as the sole reason for voting, then I think it's a cue we all need to learn from. Because if we vote based on tribal or religious considerations, then I think we are doing ourselves a huge disservice. Because the person who is vying for the position has given us the opportunity that if we repose our confidence in him, he's going to live up to the billing. So if he comes and he fails to deliver, he ends up failing miserably. That is where we also go to the polls and vote somebody we feel has what it takes to improve our well-being as constituents in the said constituency.
Now, Bless, I'll come back to you, Greg, in a jitter. But let me come to Bless once again. Bless, there are a lot of other factors that influence, voting behavior of, some people from within a particular jurisdiction or something. People may vote based on the fact that the candidate is handsome or beautiful. Others may also go and vote because they think that the person is competent. Like they vote for various reasons and all of that. Do you foresee some of these things, playing out in the upcoming election? Or looking at the current situation in which we find ourselves as a country, people are rather going to be voting based on one's competence?
So I think there are different types of voters. There are those who would vote, they would vote for a particular party because their parents belonged to the party, they were born into the party, and so nothing wrong that party would do would be able to deter them from voting for that particular political party. And then there are some who would also vote based on the fact that the party hasn't performed or has performed, and so they are going to be voting or not for that particular political party. If you look at the voting trends, there are specific regions, there are various regions here in Ghana where, parties have always won elections in that particular region, irrespective of whether they have performed or they haven't performed. You take the Volta region and Ashanti regions, for instance. These are classical examples. You look at the Eastern region, that is another perfect example of a region that would vote for a particular candidate. They are going to win it, irrespective of whether the party performs or they do not perform. So that has always been the case. Let me say that in the upcoming election, a similar thing could play out. I won't be surprised. The the New Patriotic Party is going to win the Ashanti region. That is pretty axiomatic. The National Democratic Congress would win the Volta region. That as well is axiomatic. So those trends are there. But just that there are some group of people who actually determine the winners of elections, and they are the people who look at the job that the ruling government has done and try to pull parity with that of the outgone government and weigh. They also look at the policies of these two political parties, these two major political parties, or even maybe another political party, and decide that, okay, this one has better policies, and then I'm going to vote for him or her, or I'm going to vote for that party. And so they are the ones who would actually tip, or who would actually decide who wins the election.
Right.
So people, both political parties, the NDC and NPP, I'm not happy that we are limiting it to just them, but they have their base. They would vote for the NDC and NPP no matter what, come what may, they would vote for them. But there are these group of people who would actually think through thoroughly and decide that I'm going to vote for the NDC or I'm going to vote for the NPP based on the policies they've presented to me, or based on the current happenings. I feel that, look, these people have disappointed so much, it wouldn't be worth it giving them another chance or another 4 years.
So these are people who do not have any affiliations with any political party.
Some of them even do have affiliations. Let me also, some even have affiliations, but they cannot overlook the fact that their party has disappointed so much, and so they'll still vote for them. No.
Right.
They cannot overlook that. So despite the fact that they believe in the tenets of the party, the principles of the party, the ideas, the ideologies of the party, they are center-left or they are center-right or whatever, political theories that they believe in, irrespective of that, they also can look at, they also can evaluate the situation and be like, nah, this is terrible. I can't vote for my party this time around.
Right. Right, okay. So, Roman, I'll come back to, but let me go to Greg. Greg, we are starting with Jomoro, but Jomoro, we are starting from 1992. We'll go to 96, okay. 2000, 2004, 2008, and then we come to 2012, 2016, 2020, and then the way forward. Right. Who carries the constituency. But let me briefly, in 1992, 96, and 2000, Jomoro, it was the NDC that won that particular constituency, and it was won by Joseph Emmanuel Aka. 2004, Lee Tando Okran, who was also a member of the National Democratic Congress, won that constituency. So the NDC won that constituency 92, 96, 2000, and 2004. 2008, something very interesting happened. Christiana Samia Yaban Nkrumah, daughter of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, won Jomoro constituency. 2012, WG CDR Francis Kabenla Anaman, retired, won the constituency for NDC. 2016, Paul Essien won that particular constituency. Paul Essien is a member of a New Patriotic Party communication. New Patriotic Party. I was about to say communications team. Sorry. So he was a member of Parliament for that constituency on the ticket of a New Patriotic Party. And then in 2020, Dorcas Afo Toffee won it. Toffee.
There's a very nice ring to that name, Toffee.
Toffee. Is it Toffee or Toffee?
I hear you say Toffee.
Toffee. Dorcas Afo Toffee won that one. So take us through the voter demography.
Right. But let's first go to the candidate for this year's election in that constituency. This is incumbent MP Dorcas Afo Toffee from the NDC. She won the last election. She became embattled in court. She won, and then she was able to continue her term. She's coming up against Paul Essien of the NPP as far as that constituency is concerned. Now let's move straight to the...
So it's going to be a battle between the current MP and the former MP.
The former MP, okay. Right. Now, this is how the last election panned out.
Okay.
The NDC garnered 44.3% of the total vote cast. Now, in effect, the NDC won with 24,356 votes as compared to the 14,241 votes they garnered in 2016. So that shows a significant appreciation in the votes they garnered. They garnered about 14.2 more votes than they did in 2016. Then the NPP the NPP's candidate garnered 19,889 votes, some 36.2% of the votes, as compared to the 18,694 votes they garnered. So they lost with a margin of about some 3.3 decrease in the expected votes that they should have gotten. And so Dorcas Tofe of the NDC, as I said, won with some 24,756. Paul Essien, who was then incumbent MP, garnered 19,889 votes. Samia Yaba Christian Nkrumah, who was also a former MP of the area, after she won on the ticket of the CPP in 2008, garnered 10,529. Now this time she contested as an independent candidate. Then Patrick Eche Kwesi of the CPP garnered 235 votes in the area. Now, Justice, as we rightly said, Jomoro is a swing constituency because even though the NDC has won majority of the elections over there, it has alternated between the NPP and then the CPP. In fact, if you go as far back as 1979, under the Third Republic, there's one James Leuven Mensah who won on the ticket of the PNP, Dr. Liman's PNP. So even if you go as far back outside 1992, the constituency or that seat has swung between about some 4 parties. And so it tells you how they vote, even though most often than not they are expected to side with the NDC. Research or history has also shown that whenever the party in power does not meet the aspirations of the people, they tend to switch a lot. And so in 96, the NDC's Joseph Emmanuel Aka won with 60.7%. In 2000, Joseph Emmanuel Aka came back with 33.4%. In 2004, Lee Okran came back to win. And then in 2008, Samia Yaba Nkrumah Christiana unseated the NDC's candidate. Then the NDC made a comeback with Francis Kabenla Anaman, who came to snatch the seat. And then in 2016, the seat was snatched by the NPP. Paul Essien, 39.5% of the vote. And then in 2020, Dorcas Afotofe came to snatch the seat from the NPP. So if you are going by the trends from 2008 to 2020, no party has been able to go twice. I think so. Because it was for the CPP in 2008, and then in 2012, the NDC made a comeback. In 2016, the NPP snatched the seat for the first time, I think. And then in 2020, the NDC made a comeback. And so in the last 4 elections, between 2008 and then 2020, no party has been able to retain that seat twice. So that should be telling going into this year's election how the dynamics could play in that constituency if we are going by what the numbers are saying between 2008 and then 2020, where about some 3 different parties have occupied that seat. Of course, the NDC has won twice within that space, but they have not done so in succession. They have won in 2012, lost in 2016, and then they made a comeback in 2020, whereas they lost again as far back as 2008. So that should inform our viewers why we are designating Jomoro as a swing constituency, even though the NDC has won majority of the elections over there. In the past 4 elections, no party has been able to go twice.
Why do you think that after 2000 or after 2004, the seat has been alternating between the CPP, NPP, and NDC?
Right, so I'll anchor whatever I say on what Bless said, that the demographics of Ghanaian voters are in 3 folds. There are people who are entrenched voters, so either the NPP or NDC. They are not hot. It's either they are hot or they are cold. There's no in between when it comes to those people. So you find such people in areas like the Volta region, the northern region, some part of Savannah, maybe what we have as the Bono East region right now. these are people who would ordinarily vote for the NDC every time. If you come to a place like the Ashanti region, Eastern region, let's say Ahafo region, Bono region, these are voters who at any point in time, whether the party is performing or not, maybe there will be some apathy that will affect the voter margins, but they will still stand by their party. And then there are some in-betweens. The Western region is one of these regions that from time to time, the seat within this region tends to flip. And I think it all comes down to how dissatisfied the people are with the government of the day, being it at the executive level or the person they voted for to be their member of parliament. And I think that is one thing that epitomizes the people in this constituency, that it doesn't matter whether you are the popular party over there. If you do not serve their interest, they will kick you out. And I think between 2008 and 2020, that's what we've seen. I will not be entirely shocked if they flip their seat again this year, especially when Samia is coming back as an independent candidate. That's what we are hearing.
Well, she was in the race as an independent candidate, and still she lost.
Yes, but one thing is that when such a person is also in the race, it tends to affect the fortunes of another candidate, because if she's not in that race, it can be construed that the votes might be split between the top two candidates, and whoever is able to eat much into her constituency might flip that seat. And so she coming on board again, it does the top two candidates, i.e. the former MP and the current MP, it does them not much of good, because whoever is on the losing side as to the number of seats, the number of votes she's able to siphon from your base affects your chances of winning. And so I think that is what will be on the mind of the incumbent MP going into this election, because people who are MPP will vote for MPP whether you like it or not. People who are NDC will vote for NDC, but the people who determine who among these two dominant parties comes out victorious are the kingmakers as far as Ghanaian elections are concerned. And so I think this year, so that's what we are going to see in this constituency, whether or not Afo Tofe is going to be the first MP since 2008 to retain that seat, or whether Paul Essien will make a comeback, will be determined by the people who lie between. The people who will decide whether to do their business with the NDC, or the people who decide whether to keep their faith with the CPP, or the people who decide to make a change and then go back to the NPP. They will be the determinants of this election.
Now, let me come to you, Ruben. Oh, you have something.
I wanted to find out which year Ghana's founder's daughter contested as an independent candidate.
That was 20. She contested in the 2020 election as an independent candidate.
In 2008 and 2012, she went as on the ticket of the CPP
in 2008.
Yes, so she won for the CPP in 2008. And then she lost in 2012.
Yes.
And then she came as an independent candidate.
In 2016?
Yes.
Is it 2016 or 2020?
I think 2020.
2020. She
yes.
2020
I'm not sure she contested in the
2016
election.
So I wanted to find out exactly what her impact was as an independent candidate.
Yes.
Then that would
go up. I think she garnered about more than 10,000 votes in that election.
In the last election, even in the last election, now,
she had 10,529
there was just a margin of in the north of 9,000 votes between herself and then
the MPP.
So just imagine if the MPP's candidate at the time was able to, because there's just more than a 5,000 margin.
You know, I'm asking because please, if you can calm down. Okay. So that's interesting. 10,000 is a huge
number.
Yes.
So I'm asking because then it means that her presence in the race affects one political party more than the other.
Yes.
It may affect one. It may affect the NPP more than it does affect
the NDC.
Yes. Why not the NDC rather? Because if you look at that constituency, it is the NDC that has won the constituency more.
But in 2016, I wish we could get the 2016 results.
Okay, I'll check the 2016 results.
Where the NPP actually won the seat. Did she contest in 2016? if we can
I'll get it for
if
you.
we can get the 2016 results, if she contested, then because NPP won the seat in 2016.
Yes.
And they had 39% of the votes. And if they had 39% of the votes, then it means that the NDC had less than 39% of the vote. Okay, and the third party would share the remaining, the other parties would share the remaining.
So she was in the race in 2016.
Right. So what did she
Okay,
gather?
so 2016 parliamentary results of the Jomoro constituency. Paul Essien of a New Patriotic Party had 18,694 votes, representing 39.49%. Thomas Yankee of the National Democratic Congress had 14,241, representing 30.08%, and Samia Yaba Nkrumah had 9,714, representing 20.5%.
So it appears it does affect both parties.
Yes,
it does affect both parties.
That's why I made the point that from 2008, it seems as though whoever is able to, or whoever is at the mercy of her base tends to lose the election. Because in 2008, when she was a popular candidate, she unseated NDC. Now, it has also shown that these days, the NPP is at the losing end of her presence in that race. Okay. Because if the NPP was able to tap into her base and even garnered about more than half of the votes she got, they could have won that election. The NDC has shown that whether she's in that race or not, they have the tendency to win that seat. And so I think it is more incumbent on the NPP to make or touch with a base than the NDC. That's my candid opinion on all this.
All right, but there's one thing that we also need to look at. We need to also look at the presidential.
Yes.
As to whether the party that wins that constituency also wins the presidential. If you check that of the 2016, Paul Essien won that constituency, and Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo won in 2016. Okay. But if you come to 2020, I think John Mahama lost, but Dorcas Afo-Tofe won.
Yes. Yes.
How would you explain that?
So I think that was one thing that affected John Mahama and the NDC, not only in that constituency, but around Ghana. Because if you check the mere fact that the NDC jumped from, I think, 109 seats to 137. Yes. Then it tells you that there were many areas where people opted for the PC in the area, but did not side with John Mahama as a candidate. And I think when she even appeared on the channel, that was one thing we asked there. And then she said that's one of the things she's going to work towards, that not only is she going to retain the seat, but she's also going to ensure that James votes get an appreciation so that he's able to also win over there. And I think that's an issue that was endemic with the NDC in the last election, where candidate John Mahama lost in some areas, but his parliamentary candidate won. If you check Okaikwe North, even most of the seats that the NDC has never won before, there are some seats that the NDC has never won before, but their PCs managed to flip those seats, but John Mahama still lost. So I think it has to do, and I don't know the trend. I don't know if it's a thing with that where PCs tend to win, but the party does not win in that on that seat. I don't know how.
In 2016, the NPP candidate won. President Akufo-Addo also won that constituency. Okay. But Ruben, let me ask you this briefly. If you look at the Jomoro constituency, apart from party affiliations and all other factors, do you think that the personalities involved also, play a certain role in who wins that particular constituency?
I think to a far extent, it's possible, because in 2008, for instance, nobody ever thought that the only daughter of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah would vie for the seat and eventually win. Because I remember she vied for the national chairpersonship of the CPP and she won, succeeding Ladi Nylander. before Dr. Edmond Dele, who is now a traditional ruler, replaced her. But aside that, maybe she was able to use her popularity as the daughter of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and the Western region happens to be the base, the hometown of Ghana's first founder. Maybe she was able to capitalize on that. Secondly, I think she went to the extent of fraternizing with the constituents because she realized that this was indeed the time for her to prove a point. So, how do I get it done? Or how am I going to make sure this target is achieved? Let me seize the opportunity to fraternize with the constituents so that if I get down to listen to their pressing needs and concerns, they will give me the chance. And that is why she was able to unseat a political stalwart in the late Tando Okran. Because the Okran was one time Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa. At the point, he was the Deputy Minister of Environment, Science and Technology. Later, he became Education Minister and later served as Board Chairman of the VRA. I remember in 2015 thereabouts, he described the Bui Dam as a white elephant. So, Samia Yaba Nkrumah was able to capitalize on these factors I have enumerated to pull a fast one on Lee Tando Okran, who was regarded as a stalwart of the NDC. But 4 years down the line, a relatively unknown retired officer of the Ghana Air Force, Wing Commander, that's the equivalent of Lieutenant Colonel in the Army, Francis Kabenla Anaman, did the unthinkable by unseating her. So I'm sure 4 years down the line, maybe people were beginning to dislike her because the constituents felt that she wasn't lobbying to chart that developmental agenda they were looking out for. So they decided to try someone else, and maybe that person would live up to their expectations, which is why she lost the seat in 2012.
Now, bless, if you look at that constituency, now we've seen the voter demography from 1996 to 2000. Samia is in the race again. We are told she is going as an independent candidate. Paul Essien is in the race. The current member of parliament is also in the race. In your own estimation, what do you think will happen? Who do you think will carry that seat in 2024?
Wow,
come December 7?
Very, very interesting question. First of all, I feel like a lot of issues already. The people in Ajomoro have shown us that they are people with minds of their own, and so they can vote for whoever they want to vote for. What is inspiring Samia's decision to pursue a return to Ghana's legislative arm of government? What is the reasoning behind it? That's one question I want to know. That's one question I wish I knew, and I mean I wish I had an answer to. The leader of the new force, Kwame Bediako, actually proposed her becoming his running mate, but she declined. And I heard her, I think, on GH1, and her reason for declining is that there's so much she has to do with Ajomoro, with Jomoro. So
she has unfinished business.
She has unfinished business with Jomoro, and so she declined that offer. As to who the people are going to vote for, well, that's a big one. You know, I feel like there are going to be a lot of determinant factors. One, I don't see the NPP winning the seat.
Okay.
Let me say that point blank. I do not see
unequivocally.
Yes, I'm saying that I do not see the New Patriotic Party winning the seat.
The seat, okay.
If Musa Dankwa's swing is anything to go by, if you place the swing over there, the swing tells me that the NPP are going to lose more votes in that seat. Also, I believe that a lot of events of recent times would compel the people to not vote for the NPP. And when I say events of recent times, I'm talking about the running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and some comments he made in relation to a man that the people of that region hold dear. Yeah. So I think any form of sympathy that, if I should say, people, I mean, voters who are not entrenched in their minds that they'll vote for the New Patriotic Party, I think that would go away with them.
Yeah.
So they are not going to vote for the NPP because they feel that one of their own, the greatest African in history, has been touched. This is somebody who
grossly
comes
disrespected
and grossly, disrespected. He may have gone there to go and then beg the people and all of that, but I don't think he went to every house.
I learned it was the chiefs of Nzima that had to call on him to come and apologize. Otherwise, he wouldn't have even apologized.
But I don't see the people of Jomoro voting for the NPP. In fact, in the last election they lost, I think that in this particular election, they are going to lose more votes. I'm saying it based on what has happened in recent times. Also, the economic situation does not speak well. Already, I have held a position that the New Patriotic Party would lose lots of seats in the upcoming election, particularly because of the things that have transpired in Parliament.
The apathy and all those.
Yes, and in the events in Parliament, I mean, the very fact that there's this e-levy that people didn't want you to pass, you did everything possible, had to fly people, had to chauffeur sick people in ambulances to Parliament to go and then vote to pass that law, which your very constituents were against. I feel like all of these things are going to be against the NPP. So I don't see the NPP winning Jomoro. It is not happening. I don't see it happening. Now, you look at Samia and you look at
Dorcas Afotoffe.
Dorcas Afotoffe is an opposition parliamentary candidate. You understand? So she won the seat in 2020, but her party lost the election. So she may have some excuses that, look, I've been able to do this, I've been able to do that, even without my party being in power. I think a few months ago she was featured on Constituency. She came to project some of the things that she's done for the people, some of the issues that she went to meet over there, and the things that the developmental projects she's been able to, champion ever since she took over the reins as Member of Parliament for the Jomoro constituency. So she can she can make that argument that, look, in as much as my party is not the ruling administration, these are the successes I've been able to chalk. She spent about 2 years of her first term having to go to the court to defend her citizenship.
Her dual citizenship.
Yes, she had to defend that. Then consequently she won, because according to the laws of La Côte d'Ivoire, if you are a citizen and you decide to contest the elections of another country, automatically they don't have to issue any document to
you have automatically denounced your citizenship.
You have she won that court case based on this constitutional provision, really this Ivorian constitutional provision. And so she has a case. Was she part of the people who helped pass the e-levy? No. You understand? So she has a lot of things helping her case, and also the argument that it appears, if the 8-year cycle is anything to go by, it appears that her party, the National Democratic Congress, is the government in waiting. And so my party is coming to power. Vote for me when I am your Member of Parliament and my party is the ruling administration. I could do more.
I can probably lobby developmental projects
and do more. Look at what I have done. So based on this, even in opposition, I could do better than this when you retain me and my party is in power. So she could argue on those lines. So for me, the argument is nowhere near in favor of the New Patriotic Party in this instance. And it cuts across all the regions. I'll be surprised I'll be very much surprised if the NPP is able to flip any seat that they
lost in.
Yes, I'll be very surprised. And if they are able to flip any seat that is currently being occupied by an NDC, candidate, irrespective of whichever region that seat is in.
I think there will be a very few seats that the NPP will gain, very few. But the NDC's net gain will outmuzzle them.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
For me, I would even be surprised if they are able to win any seats that is currently. I mean,
well, and what are those seats you think the NPP is likely to flip? Which regions, which areas?
Probably in Greater Accra, there are some seats that the polls are res ipsa, as we say. But in some extreme situations, some things can happen.
Okay.
And I can't pinpoint one or two, but I don't expect the NPP not to have any net gain as far as the seats are concerned.
Well,
but
I don't expect them to have any net gain.
maybe on.
I don't expect them
on election day, because even in the Ashanti region, I think they garnered 2 more seats.
The NPP?
Yes. No, the
NDC
gained
2 more.
Because initially, I think their net gain in that region was there are 2 seats, and they added 2 more seats.
Asawase, and then
and I'm saying that
I think there's a Dubiase,
right. Yeah.
And I'm saying that
and then
based
there are 2
on
more
recent
seats.
happenings, okay, based on recent happenings, you're looking at the economic
all odds
situation.
are against them.
Yes.
For me, the odds are heavily,
Yeah.
not just against them, but the odds are heavily against them.
There are also times that exigencies on the ground, it in some extreme cases, it exculpates the minds of the people from happenings on the national scale. So they tend to register their displeasure in the presidential polls rather than the parliamentary polls. This year, as you are saying, if the polls from EIU, from Info Analytics, from Fitch and the others are anything to go by,
Afrobarometer,
the NDC is more likely to win the election. But there might be bits of seats that the NPP will pick. I don't think it will exceed even four seats. The NDC is likely to even flip more seats, especially when, in fact, if the NPP had not ousted most of their pieces, this election could have been a bloodbath for them. The NDC could have won in places they have never won, in some strongholds of the NPP. But I think the NPP will still pick a few seats, but it will not be anything to write home about.
I only agree with you on the basis that maybe a seat that was a traditional seat
NPP
or a New
seats.
Patriotic Party,
yes,
they are likely to flip it because
flip
perhaps NDC only won that seat once. That was in 2020,
yes,
and so they would want to, come back strongly to come and get that seat. But apart from that, those places that are swing constituencies in itself, and I think those places are the places Bless is actually talking about.
In fact, for example, a place like or Kaikui North, I know the polls are in favor of the NDC, but anything can happen.
They are likely to stage a strong comeback.
Anything can happen, especially when it's a traditional seat. It tells you that, for all you know, the people did not vote because of apathy. And so if the party is able to pull a few strings, it is likelier than not that they will retain they can take back the seats.
But Kaikui North, don't think so, because we are thinking so. You may be thinking wrongly. This is because the MPP candidate in question is a member of parliament who is coming from incumbent member of parliament from another constituency who would want to come and take over this.
Is it the same? Is it the same constituency that I think a journalist?
Ken Crunchy, yes.
Is it the same?
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
interesting.
Interesting.
I'll be very surprised if the NPP wins that.
No,
Yes, he has gone independent.
Yes,
He's gone independent.
The point I'm trying to make, and even buttressing your point, is that the NDC is likely to have a gross net gain, and it might out, because I'm seeing some polls that are saying that the party might get even less than 100 seats. I've seen a poll like that. If that happened,
I won't be surprised.
Then it means it has been a bloodbath for them. But even in this 99 seats, you found that they managed to even take back some seats. Flip some seats.
Well,
but that doesn't mean that it have
it's
a direct
possible.
consequence on the net gain.
That may happen, but I don't see that happening.
Yes, and I feel that even if it will happen, it's going to be their traditional seats that were flipped in the 2020 election. So they will just want to, stage a strong comeback to come and get
owing
those
to
seats
what the polls are saying and all those things.
Now let's move away from John Morrow. Or do you have some more
so I just wanted us to
give us?
I just wanted us to put into context the party's performance in that constituency.
Their historical performance.
Yes. Now, in '96, the NDC won. Of course, the NDC won that election.
Yes.
Then in 2000 and 2004, the NPP won the presidential. And then in 2008 and 2012, the NDC won the presidential. Then in 2016, the NPP won over there, and then in 2020, the NPP won over there again. Now, if you come to the parliamentary, the NDC won in '96, in 2000, and 2004. So even when John Kufuor won in that constituency, the NDC's PC won the seat. And so he won it 2 times when John Kufuor won in his constituency.
Right.
Now, in 2008, when J.E. Mills won, and then it could have been construed that the NDC would be able to retain the seat. Because if you're able to win the seat at the time where the NPP was winning convincingly, then how much more when your candidate won? Something happened. The NPP even couldn't win. The CPP then came to snatch the seat at the detriment of the 2 dominant parties. And then
is it the case that they were tired of the then MP, so they needed a change?
Probably. And then in 2012, when John Dramani came to the fold, the NDC's candidate won there, but he again won that seat in 2012. And then in 2016, when NPP won, the NPP's candidate again won. And then in 2020, when NPP won, the NDC's candidate won. So it tells you that they do as they please.
You can't,
it doesn't matter who they vote for, whether they are voting for the NPP or not. If you are the parliamentary candidate and you are not working to meet the aspiration for which they elected you into office, they will vote you out. And we've seen that. Even though they vote for the NDC 3 times on the trot, they voted against them in 2008. They came back to the NDC, then they switched to the NPP again, then they switched again to the NDC.
Go up a bit. I would want to draw your attention on something. No, calm down. You see, that constituency in itself, you cannot really determine how they vote.
Yes.
Because look at PPP. The PPP candidate had 2,613 votes, about 5.52%. But can you check that? The PPP candidate in that constituency in 2020 garnered about 2,613 votes. The independent candidate, he also had 1,600.
And so it tells you that when it comes to the parliamentary elections, they do not care about party affiliation.
It's not just about the parliament. Go to the presidential. The PPP had over 1,000 votes over there. Presidential.
CPP had to get 1,000.
Okay, CPP had, and then PPP had about 982 votes.
Yeah.
And so,
well, interesting. I also feel that some of the candidates, some of the candidates that were fielded that year may have had some
impact
and some effect on the NDC.
I agree with you.
Some of them may have had roots.
It's true, from the NDC.
So I am looking at what's on the board right now, and I can say that Nana Kunedu Ajim and Rawlins's votes, to some extent, Ivor Green Street's votes, we're all NDC.
And even the independent candidate,
Rawlins. Yes. And that could have overturned
that of the Akufo-Addo's vote that he had.
Yes. And so that's why I anchored my earlier talk on yours, that it doesn't matter when they feel like you have not worked or you have not gained their trust. It doesn't matter the party colors. It doesn't matter the party affiliations. So they tend to vote how they like.
So in that constituency, you must work hard. You must have a strong personality.
And you have a strong base.
Exactly.
Before you are able to work for you.
Interesting. Right. Unfortunately, we are unable to access Facebook and then shouts to our viewers. But so those of you watching from your TV sets, thank you so much for your time. And also, let me extend special greetings to Madam Catherine Ami, who is doing the watching with Louisa Naki Kove. Good afternoon to you. Many, many thanks. I was just reminded that they are doing the watching, and so I had to acknowledge them.
Yeah, right. Good afternoon to you all. Thank you all so much for patronizing us. Now, let's go to Ajomoro. Evaluate.
Evaluate.
Is it evaluate?
Evaluate
constituency.
I've never been to that place. So.
Right. So, Ajomoro, evaluate constituency. James Evans Kojo Ama won that seat for the NDC in 1996, and he retained the seat till 2009. So that was 2008. Kweku Kesi, won the seat in 2012 for the New Patriotic Party. Then Catherine Ablema Afeku in 2016 also won that seat. And in 2020, Kofi Akonoku also won that seat in 2020 for the NDC. So the NPP won that seat in 2012 and in 2016. The rest, were for the National Democratic Congress. Going into the 2024 election, the battle is going to be between Catherine Ablema Afeku of the New Patriotic Party and Kofi Akonoku of the National Democratic Congress. Who wins this constituency?
For emphasis, these are the two top candidates from the NPP and the NEC. She has been MP for the area. She has lost. She has come back again. He is an incumbent MP and seated there in the last election. So these are the two faces that are expected to be in contention for that.
So this is also going to be a battle between a former MP and then the current MP.
Yes. Okay. Well, in fact, if you turn your attention to that seat, it makes for very interesting reading. How Catherine Afeku has made several comebacks. I think she has lost twice over there and all that. And so that's also one seat whose people tend to vote people out a lot when you do not meet their aspirations. And so let's go into the numbers.
Before that, I think, Bless, you wanted to say something.
Oh, no. Let's, whatever I have to say, I'll say after this.
All right.
right. So in 2020, the NDC won with 53.4% of the votes as against the NPP's 46.6%. This is in the parliamentary elections. In 2016, the NDC garnered 12,416 votes, whereas the NPP garnered 14,002 votes, and that's with the number that Catherine Afeku won the seat in 2016. Now, Kofi Akonoku from the NDC, 19,830 votes. Catherine Abelema Afeku, 17,284. Elisha Joshua Kabenla from Ghana Union Movement, 0 votes. Suman Frank Afo, 0 votes. I think they were in no mood to give out votes to anybody.
They don't give out votes like that.
Yes. They were pragmatic. They wanted to vote for people who knew had a chance to take that seat. Now, if we go back in time, I think that seat has also been occupied by the CPP twice, if I'm not wrong. 96 and 2004. The NDC 2000, NPP 2008, NDC 2012. NPP 2016, NDC again in 2020. So if we're going by these patterns, then it tells you that the people like the people of Jomoro tend to vote based on performance rather than affiliations. Because if they've swung between 3 parties within that time, then it speaks to the choices they make during elections. And Bless, I don't know if you would have anything to add to that.
All right, let's go back to the pictures of the leading candidates. Right. So, Madam Catherine Afeku as representing the New Patriotic Party, and then Kofi Akunoko representing the National Democratic Congress.
Very well.
He's the incumbent MP. He's somebody I know very well too.
You're very good friend. I was going to jump that too myself.
He's somebody I know very well as well. And
in fact, you have an interest in that constituency.
Vested interest.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way because I don't even vote there to start with. But then, this is very interesting. I'm saying it's interesting because Madam Catherine Afeku, as we all sitting here know, that when Alan Chermantin was contesting the presidential primaries of the New Patriotic Party, she lent her support to him. Yes. And was with him all the way until Alan decided to leave the NPP entirely and then form his own movement, the Movement for Change. So this is somebody whose affiliation or whose commitment to the cause of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for me is questionable.
Right.
Because her stance was clear in the beginning.
Yeah.
She supported Honorable Alan John Kudjo Chermantin and not Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
True.
In fact, she has been here in these studios, in the studio of Pan Africa Television.
Exactly where Justice is sitting.
Seated exactly where you are sitting. And she made the argument for the reasons for which she doesn't think that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is fit to lead the New Patriotic Party, and why she believed in the abilities of
Alan
Chermantin. Now, she only returned to the NPP because she places, this is a personal opinion, by the way, she places her party's, wishes above that of an individual.
Yeah.
You understand? And so for me, her allegiance to the cause of the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party is very questionable.
Yeah.
That is to start with. Now, you look at Kofi Akunoko, and there are things I've heard that in his primaries, the executive elections of the National Democratic Congress, I have heard, it is alleged. This is an allegation. I'm not saying this based on fact. It's alleged that all the people, the executives he supported to fill various positions, like the chairman, constituency chairman, constituency secretary, all of these people lost.
Right.
So the people who won, all of them, are people he was against. So I've heard that there's some bits of disunity in the base when it comes to Evaluate Jera Ajomoro constituency and the NDC. As to whether he will be able to iron out those differences before December 7, that's another question altogether. And as to the extent to which that disagreement or internal wrangling would negatively affect the NDC, for me, I cannot tell.
Okay.
Yes, but I think they have a competent member of parliament in Kofi Akunoko and a very competent former member of parliament in,
Catherine.
In Catherine Afeku. I don't know who they'll vote for. I'm not going to sit here and then campaign for anybody. May the best person win. That's all I'll say.
Right. Ruben, your take.
So, given the submission made by Bless, I believe that if it's anything to go by, then it means the incumbents will face a stiff competition from the former member of parliament, whose allegiance seems to be in doubt, because at the point we felt she had aligned herself with Mr. Alan Chermantin and his Movement for Change, Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Then at the point we realized that she has rejoined the party which elevated her to where she now finds herself. So I believe that she capitalized on the fact that once she served in that constituency, maybe she left an indelible mark. So far as being MP is concerned, she would want to ride on that and probably give Kofi Akonokwe a good run for his money. But Kofi Akonokwe was also elected to prove a point, and he had 4 years to either prove a point or fare disappointingly. So 2024, it will be one of the constituencies I would keenly look at. But like we always say, may the best candidate win.
So the 2020 parliamentary results of Evaluate Ajomoro, Kofi Akonokwe, 19,830 votes, representing 53.43%. Catherine Ablema Afeku of the New Patriotic Party had 17,287 votes, representing 46.57%. Mind you, in 2020, it was vice versa, a competition between a sitting member of parliament and somebody who was then coming. And I mean, Kofi Akonokwe won the election with a little over 2,000 votes. Is he up to 2? Yes, a little over 2,000 votes. Well, let's see what happens in 2024. But let's see how they vote in terms of the presidential.
Right. So let's start off with the parliamentary election. In '96, Kojoama from the CPP occupied that seat. Then he lost the seat to a 180th Hazel in 2000. Then Kojoama makes a comeback in 2004, takes the seat from Edith Hazel. And then in 2008, Catherine Afeku is introduced to that race. Then she wins that seat by 57.7% of the vote cast. And then Kweku Tenichi Kese comes on board in 2012 and then unseats Catherine Afeku. And then in 2016, Catherine Afeku makes another comeback. That's her first comeback, actually.
Yes.
And then wins that seat and unseats the incumbent MP, Kweku Tenichi Kese. And then in 2020, Kofi Akonokwe comes on board and unseats Catherine Afeku again. And then in 2024, she's making another comeback as she made in 2016 against the person who caused her exit from office. And so, just if you are going also by these demographics, we can construe.
But Kweku Tenichi Kese, you know, he was a member of parliament on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party, right?
No, for the NDC.
For the NDC,
yes.
Right? What I have here says that he was a member of parliament on the ticket of the
in 2008,
New Patriotic Party in 2012.
Yeah. So Afeku comes on board in 2008. Then she wins that seat. Then in 2012, Kweku Kese comes and then unseats Catherine Afeku on the ticket of the NDC.
So did Kese contest on the ticket of the MPP or
From
the
the information I have, he contested on the ticket of the NDC. And unseated.
So the information I have here is wrong.
Yes.
Because, but you know, so that was in 2012.
Yes. So it means between 2012 and 2016, the race was between the two of them, Kese and then Afeku. So Kese wins the first race in 2012, and then Afeku makes a comeback in 2016.
Okay.
And now she's coming up against the person who unseated her in 2020, as she did in 2016 when she came up against the person who unseated her in 2012. And so that also makes for very interesting reading.
Do you think she will make any significant stride in this election?
Owing to the point we've, advanced over the course of the show, I think it is quite axiomatic that the NDC's candidate retains the seat. But with issues like the ramblings within the NDC, and owing to the fact that it is a constituency that, owing to these, has not retained an MP, even for once, since '96. No person has been able to serve as an MP of that area successively Kojo Ama was MP in 96. He lost in 2000, came back in 2004. Catherine Afriku was MP in 2008, lost in 2012, came back in 2016, lost again in 2020. It tells you that, it makes for interesting reading, that it is a religiously swing seat, and so anything can happen. But owing to the evidence of the apathy and then the chances of the NDC's candidate, it is more likelier than not that the NDC wins that seat. But if you also want to go into what happens in elections, where we see fear, fear voters,
fear electrics,
I think we cannot be too sure that the NDC retains that seat. Of course, there's a high chance that they may win that seat, but if you want to go by the chances of every MP from 96 going into a second election, we can't leave anything to chance as far as
let's go to the
presidential.
Briefly, then we continue. We're gonna have some few minutes left, and so we have to do it fast.
Okay.
Right, but you have the presidential results for 2020 up there, don't you have it?
I don't think I do. That is the parliamentary elections.
That's the parliamentary.
So I think I have it here. The presidential results for Evaluate. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC in 2020 had 19,942 votes, representing 53.10%. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had 16,341 votes, representing 43.51%. Christian K. Andrew had 1,274 votes, representing 3.39%. Nana K. A. Rollins, 0. Bridget A. Jugbenuku, 0. David A. Apasera, 0. Akpalu, 0. Henry H. Lati had 0. Hassan Ayariga, 0. Ikwiadonko, 0. Ivan Gray Street, 0. Alfred K. A. Walker, 0. I see. Wow. All right. And then which one is that?
So that is the presidential for Evaluate. Yes. And so in 2020, as you said, these are the results. The NDC, as you said, 13,173.
No, that cannot be 2020, because 2020 John Mahama had 19,942.
So this should be 2016.
Okay, yeah, 2016.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
2016. I need to. All right. Okay. 2016 elections. Okay. So for the presidential, not the parliamentary.
So quickly take us through, and then we move to another.
I just want us to dwell a bit on that seat, and then go over from 96, who has won the seat as far as the presidential election is concerned.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. So we do Western Region, Evaluate, Ajomoro Guira. Right.
So I have 96 here. Should I go through?
Okay. So I think I have the detailed results from 96 as far as the presidential election is concerned.
So let's go over quickly.
Right. Okay. So in 96, John Ajekun Kufuor won in that constituency with 51% of the vote, as against Jerry John Rawlings' 45%. In 2000, J.K. wins again. That's John Ajekun Kufuor with 47%. 2004, he wins again. In 2008, Nana Akufo-Addo wins. And then in 2012, the NDC's JDM wins. In 2016, the NDC's JDM wins again. And I think in 2020, JDM wins again.
Yeah.
And so, even though the CPP, the NDC, and the NPP have been alternating between the seats from 96 as far as the parliamentary election is concerned, I think the presidential makes for very interesting reading because the NPP won 4 times on the trot. 96 when the seat was CPP, that's a red seat, they won. 2000 when the seat was an NDC seat, they won. 2004 when the seat again became a CPP seat, they won. And then in 2008 when the seat became an NPP seat, the NPP won over there. And then in 2012 JDM and the PC all won for the NDC. In 2016, however, JDM wins for the presidential, but Catherine Afeku wins that seat for the NPP. And then in 2020, JDM again wins the seat, and then the NDC's candidate wins the seat. So it seems like you cannot draw a direct inference between the presidential and parliamentary as far as that seat is concerned, because they tend
what I've seen is that gradually they have shifted away from voting for the NPP in the presidential to voting for the NDC.
That's right, because from 2008 the NPP hasn't managed to win that constituency as far as the presidential election is concerned. So Justice, that is what we have for the Evaluate constituency. So now let's move over to Prestea Huni Valley.
Yeah, your friend's constituency.
That's quite a definite statement.
I thought he's your friend. Is he not your friend?
No. So as parliamentary reporter for this esteemed outfit, I believe all the 275 MPs, including the Speaker of Parliament, one way or the other, is a friend of the channel, is a friend of mine. And so saying Honorable Wisdom Robert Kujo is your friend, show some bias. And I don't
right. In fact, in this office, me, I have friends in Parliament. If you mention Anglo constituency, he's my friend. You understand? Well, I'll show my bias.
Unlike you, I'm not as esteemed.
In fact, member of Parliament for Sisala West, Adam Suparo, he's my friend.
Just like Akunoku is Bless's friend.
Yeah, just like Akunoku is Bless's friend. Bless has another friend.
Which friend?
Gisela Tete. What's the constituency? That is Bless's friend.
And then also MP4. Is it Afadato South?
No, he has interest. He'll be contesting that seat pretty shortly.
Right.
Just watch out. I'm telling them.
I beg you.
Anyway, now let's move to the next constituency.
Right. So now we're moving over to Prestea Huni Valley. Prestea Huni Valley.
Okay.
It's also in the western region. In the last election, the NDC in the parliamentary election garnered 56,464 of the vote, as against the 32,073 votes they garnered in 2016. The NPP in 2020 garnered 39,067 votes. That's a huge difference. They were able to only add about 3,000 votes to the votes they garnered in 2016. That's 36,444 votes. I don't think it even reaches the 3,000 figure. And so these are the full extent of the numbers. Robert Wisdom Kujo of the NDC, who was the MCE for that area under the Eswal John Mahama administration.
Yeah.
He garnered 56,464. Barbara Otimjesi of the NPP, who was incumbent MP at the time, garnered 39,067. Ebenezer Yao Fobi won, garnered some 1,920 votes.
And Gum had a parliamentary candidate
over there, and he got almost 2,000 votes, 1,920. And then Abuchi Sambol of GCPP got 260 votes in that constituency. Now, these are the historical results as far as the parliamentary election is concerned. In 1996, Kweku Champion of the NDC won by some 45% of the vote. In 2000, the NPP made a comeback. Albert Kweku Obin won that seat. In 2004, he retains the seat. And then in 2008, the NDC snatched the seat from the NPP. Francis Edouble by 41%. And then he also retains the seat in 2012 with 55%. And then in 2016, Barbara Otinjesi snatches the seat again from the NDC to the side of the NPP. And Robert Wisdom Kujo contested that seat for the first time in 2016, and then he lost. And then he makes a comeback in 2020 against the incumbent MP who won for the first time in 2016, and then he unseated her in 2020. This time again, the two candidates are coming up against each other. Yes. And then, as I rightly said, he was the MC for the area, and so he contested in 2016. Immediately after, exiting office, or in his time as MC for the area, when his government was the incumbent government, he lost. And then Barbara Otinjesi wins in 2016, but in 2020, as an MP from the incumbent government, she loses that seat. She was also a minister under the government tourism ministry, I think, under the government of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo in his first term. So, bless. These are the readings for the parliamentary elections. It is also a religious seat as far as swings are concerned, because they also seem to give you the benefit of the doubt for 2 terms. After 2 terms, they kick you out. In our parlance,
it's so out to baby.
Yes, so. Yeah. What you call it? We from Bonsa Maya after 2 terms. Yes, so what you call it? So I think that is the dynamics as far as the parliamentary elections. I want us to dwell first on the parliamentary elections, your thoughts on it, and then from there we move over to the presidential.
Right. I think that their issues are just like any other swing constituency. I believe that you must perform well. You must perform well in that constituency. Otherwise, the people will kick you out. Apart from that, I think you must have a strong personality, because Robert Kujo won against Barbara Otinjesi. She was a minister.
Yes. I think Ministry of Tourism.
Yeah. So she had all the resources at her disposal. I mean, she had the state machinery. She could have done everything within her power to win that seat. But for Robert Kujo to come strongly against her in order to win the seat, I think that you must have that strong personality. You must give reasons to the people to vote for you. They should have reason as to why they are voting for you. But mind you, if you come and you are unable to perform to their satisfaction, you will go. That is what I can see over there. I don't know if what Bless will be adding to, if Bless has something to add to that.
I mean, so the Western region is very interesting. We've had a look at the voting dynamics since '92. The very fact that they were voting for the NPP, and then a time came they decided to switch.
Yes.
But the switch did not entirely even reflect in their parliamentary elections. So they could vote for the NDC for the presidential, and then still vote the NPP in the parliamentary. So very interesting constituency. And I mean, I like the fact that people would think independently and would vote based on issues. I mean, a wide range of options which they explore to vote for a particular candidate, and not just because they belong to a certain tradition, a certain traditional party. And so, come what may, by hook or crook, they'd have to vote for that party, whether or not the party performs. And so, I'm very impressed with that.
Well, you look at 2016 election in that constituency, the presidential, John Dramani Mahama won with 34,876, representing 49.81%. President Akufo-Addo had 33,327, 47.59%. That was so close. Very, 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 very close. I don't know if John Mahama won in 2020, but Ruben, your take on that constituency?
I like the fact that when the incumbent MP, Honorable Robert Wisdom Kujo, served as MC under the erstwhile Mahama administration.
All right.
When he lost,
quickly, and then we wrap up. Our time is up.
And unseated the incumbent, who is the wife of one-time president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Tony Otinjesi. I believe in politics. If you fail on your first attempt, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of your political journey.
Okay.
You keep trying, and eventually you get it. Somebody tried, and on the third